Peter Loshak, and we're talking right now with Jeff Grant, sports betting writer from the Bleacher Report, and also the guy who will just take any game that I need covered and give an opinion on the lines, no matter how tough they are, which are usually very tough. And here we have another one, Notre Dame at Oklahoma. Well, maybe it's not tough. Maybe some people would say that one of these sides has great value. Oklahoma's a 10-point home favorite, 48.5. Of course, both these teams are top 10 at the moment. This is one of the best Notre Dame teams in memory. Oklahoma, they haven't had that tough of a schedule. They did get a good win over Texas, which is pretty impressive, but they did lose outright to Kansas State at home. Notre Dame, also their defense has been very, very impressive, but have they really played an offense as good as Oklahoma's? I don't think so. The toughest offense they've played, probably Stanford, I guess. The question is, can they go on the road and hold down Oklahoma's offense? I'm not exactly sure. The total's 48.5. What are your general thoughts on this game to start?
Well, first off, when this came over by email from you, I always look forward to those Tuesday emails. I was like, our Monday emails, since we shoot these on Tuesdays, I was like, wow, this is quite a game to handicap, and it really turned out that way. I think this is one of the more fascinating college football games of the entire 2012 college football season to handicap, especially when you consider the line that the odds makers sent out. Sending out Oklahoma as a 9.5-point home favorite, and now it's settling in at basically a double-digit spread of 10. And when you have a team with as much high notoriety as Notre Dame, and everybody's talking about Notre Dame in this game, and there's barely anybody in college football talking about Oklahoma. And that's the first time that's really happened in a game like this in quite some time. Oklahoma is usually one that's talked highly of, and then falters in a high-profile game, losing to Kansas State. But when you look into that Kansas State box score, and when you look into that game, they had 3 turnovers in that game to 0. They lost the turnover differential 3-0. I look more in the fact that I liked Oklahoma in that game. I didn't think Kansas State was going to win it, and they were a 15.5-point home favorite. They blew out Kansas State the year before. What Oklahoma was looking toward, they had a bigger game on the horizon, in the fact that they're looking to get the better of Texas Tech, who basically ended their season for a BCS championship in 2011. And when you mention the fact that Oklahoma's offense is something that Notre Dame hasn't seen, that's absolutely correct, Peter. You look at BYU and Stanford the last 2 weeks. Those teams are very physical teams. Notre Dame is one of the more physical teams in college football. Every time I watch one of their games, a color commentator or a broadcaster is quick to point out that they may have the best front seven in football. But I've yet to see their secondary in action. They're going to be tested by Landry Jones in his best situation. Oklahoma arguably has the best home field advantage, maybe outside of Baton Rouge in all of college football. So I'm going in your direction, I believe, as well. I'm looking to lay the points with Oklahoma.
Yeah, I noticed when this line first came out, the overwhelming opinion that I saw basically just expressed on SBR was everyone questioning. They were saying, should Notre Dame really be getting 10 points? It wasn't so much people saying Notre Dame's a great bet. They were surprised at the line and openly wondering why Notre Dame was getting so many points. So why do you think that is, Jeff? What would you say to them?
Well, the 10-point spread, you can't get blinded by that. You got to look at it from a market perspective. And obviously, Oklahoma shouldn't maybe have been a 15.5-point favorite against Kansas State. And a lot of people are going to look at it this way. Kansas State beat Oklahoma as a 15.5-point road underdog. Kansas State walloped Miami for a second consecutive year at home. Notre Dame walloped Miami in a neutral site game at Soldier Field. So as a handicapper, yeah, you can immediately go to taking the underdog in that type of situation, just looking at those connect the dots situations. I'm going to go inside the game. We do this quite frequently in these videos. And I was reading some quotes and watching a press conference of Bob Stoops. And he said this game is going to come down to turnovers. Top 10 matchups normally come down to turnovers. And I will say this. Everett Golson, the quarterback at Notre Dame, he didn't play last week. He's been a better option for Notre Dame than Tommy Rees, who has been known to turn over the ball. But the last time we saw Everett Golson, he turned the ball over 3 times, and Notre Dame barely escaped against Stanford. Now, if you look at Notre Dame's last 5 losses, all happened last year, of course, since they're undefeated. They lost the turnover differential by -13. They're going on the road in the most hostile environment that Everett Golston has ever seen. And what I want to also point out is the fact that Oklahoma causes turnovers at an insane rate in Norman. They're one of the best under Bob Stoops in that situation. He's known as a defensive guy. They create turnovers there. That's where you get the separation, where a touchdown lead goes to potentially a 14, 17-point lead. And another key thing, Notre Dame going on the road in this game, this is, I think, a significant thing as well. Oklahoma has been spectacular on special teams. They're the only team in the country that ranks in the top 6 in kickoff and punt returns. In a defensive battle, you figure field position is important if you're going to score some points. Notre Dame ranked 93rd and 111th in those two categories. That's another reason why I think Oklahoma can cover the spread. That's why I suggest laying the points.
Wow, look at that. Jeff Grant going inside the numbers, underneath the numbers, underneath and inside the numbers.
And everybody's talking about Notre Dame's defense. I'll leave you with this, Peter.
Yes.
Oklahoma has only allowed 11 trips in the red zone by opponents this year. That's a forgotten statistic. Oklahoma's defense shows up in a big way on Saturday.
All right. Well, if there's one thing you've proven your haters wrong, man. You really do know your shit, Jeff. Thanks so much. Talk to you again next week.